Ladies and gentlemen, we are approaching mid-December in Iowa City, and it's warm, beautiful, and it can't be better ever than having the two incoming superintendents. Soon will be already in their offices as leaders in our community for education of secondary and elementary schools. Matt Degner at the far end there, and in the middle is Amy Kottmeyer.
Sure.
Both are highly qualified, efficient educators with a wonderful, rich history. And I was going through your both resumes and look, if I have to read it, I will consume the 30 minutes. So I will let you try your best to put in few words the main points that you introduce yourself to this community. Matt has been in this community for 3 years now, about 3 years, as a leader in Southeast Junior High. And you came to us from all the neighbors districts,
Sure.
right?
Yeah.
So that's your home too, because you are a graduate of University of Iowa.
I am.
Right? So can you start, Matt, by telling our viewers who you are and how did you get to be the assistant superintendent, the second man in this leadership of our education system?
Sure, and thank you for that very kind introduction, Hani. That was very nice of you and very appreciated. Yeah, so my name is Matt Degner, Assistant Superintendent of Secondary Schools here in Iowa City, and I guess my story really starts in Williamsburg, Iowa, as a teacher for 4 years there. I taught high school social studies, everything from government to some junior high social studies. And then I was lucky enough to be the junior high principal in Williamsburg as well for 4 years there, and just had a great experience with that community and really enjoyed my time in Williamsburg and learned a lot about myself as a leader. And from there, then I was able to embark on a new opportunity and went to Bettendorf in the Quad Cities and was an assistant principal at the high school in Bettendorf. And again, as far as leadership experience goes, I was just very fortunate to be with some very great leaders and people that really helped me shape my style as a leader. And then I was presented with the opportunity to come back to Iowa City. And I say come back to Iowa City because while I worked in Williamsburg, I lived on the east side of Iowa City for a period of time while I traveled to Williamsburg. So Southeast Junior High was a school I would drive by every day on my trek to Williamsburg. So I always kind of knew, hey, that would be really neat to end up back in Iowa City someday. So that opportunity presented itself, and I was selected and able to come join the team in Iowa City. And short experience there, 2 years, but obviously had some opportunities to grow again in my leadership area and in terms of responsibility. So that's kind of what lands me here today from some neighboring districts, as Amy has been to. So not too far away from eastern Iowa, but happy to be here in Iowa City and be part of the team.
Amy?
Sure, and I would just echo what Matt had to say. We appreciate the nice, kind introduction. As Hani alluded to, I was an undergrad here at the University of Iowa, received my elementary education degree. Right afterwards, my first teaching job was actually as a 4th grade teacher in Aldine Independent School District in Houston, Texas. Wasn't there, but a couple years, came home, got married, and started teaching 6th grade at Benton Community. And then was involved in the Cedar Rapids Community School District for 11 years after that, where I was a classroom teacher, a reading teacher, and then became Erskine Elementary principal there for 6 years. After that experience, I went to work at Linn-Mar Community Schools as the elementary director of teaching and learning, and I was there for 7 years. The last year I was there part-time, sorry, and then went to work at Springville Community School District, part-time capacity as superintendent. I knew it
Well,
was-
yes, we get you some water.
And then I had the great fortune of coming to work for Iowa City Schools this year as a Director of Elementary Teaching and Learning, or Director of Elementary Schools, and then this last month.
And here we have to start. Now, you are going to be doing the elementary, and Matt, you are going to be overseeing the whole activity of the secondary school, right? This is your main focus. How this system is different from the system that was before?
Sure. And, you know, I would say Amy and I have another great luxury of being here in Iowa City. There's great leadership here, and we've both been able to work with Becky Furlong, who's been our Chief Academic Officer. But Becky's ready to enter a new phase in her life, and she's going to go teach other people how to be great leaders at St. Ambrose in Davenport. So with her departure, and you also know Dr. Ramey Chase is leaving to take on a new adventure out on the East Coast. David Duty's left our organization to go be a superintendent in Georgia, and so that leaves quite a void of leadership in our district at this time. And so I think the superintendent really looked at that and tried to see what we could do to restructure and continue some of that good work. And that's kind of what leads us to this transition, really, because I think, you know, some of the conversation would be we had 2 assistant superintendents, we moved away from that, and then now we're back to 2 assistant superintendents again. And I think it's really when, you know, Steve was tasked with looking at that whole organization and our structure of leadership, that's how we arrived where we're at today.
And well, it has been dry anyway. Let us see. I mean, it's hot and it's dry too.
I've been battling a cold for the last couple of weeks, so I apologize.
You know, I can see it sometimes in my voice. I get hoarse sometimes because of the dryness. Maybe we have to get a humidifier. When you start working as assistant superintendent, you can give us some money so we can buy a humidifier. So we get actually this problem with our guests a lot. I think last week we had the same with one of our guests. She couldn't stop coughing, you know, once we closed the doors here.
I apologize.
But we have to thank the people at Public Access TV because they offer us all this help.
Sure.
And we can't ask them for more unless we raise some funds, you know,
Sure.
for our. But we have been an independent program. I've just received a letter from one of our viewers asking me if we are working for you in the district, you know. But we are independent. I just want to tell our viewer that we maintain our independence. We love the district, and when John Kerhoff started this program, he met with the superintendent at the time, Dr. Barb Grohe, and talked to her about his program and his idea, and he said, would you like to cooperate with me and collaborate and bring the schools? I will highlight all the activities and all that. Would you like to do that? And she said yes. But in the meantime, we never stop sometime criticizing the district if we don't see any thing that's we understand or we need to explain to the people. So, and this, I think, keeping our independence was beneficial to us. Amy, at any time during this the right thing, if you feel that you don't want to continue the sentence, I will pick up from there.
Thank you.
Yeah.
I think she just is trying to make me talk some more, honey. I think that's what it is. I think she's
sick,
just trying to, no, yeah, she's not been feeling well, so.
Well, you are a star already. I know that the people who selected you described you in a very nice phrase, and I quote here. I'm not editorializing here, but this person, and he's Chase Ramey, said that Matt has proven himself to be a great leader with forward thinking. What does this mean? What do you think he meant by forward thinking?
Well, that's very nice of Chase to say that. I've had a great experience here working with Chase and with his leadership for the district. I think the forward-thinking piece for me, when I look at it in terms of education and things that we need to be challenging ourselves to do, is how do we do school differently? And I think that can be a variety of different things, but I think there's a way you've experienced school, there's a way I've experienced school, and then there's the way we need to think about our children experiencing school, our children's children, and what school means for them, and how that role has really begun to change, and how do we need to continue to try to improve our system to better reflect what experience they'll have when they leave K-12 education, and how do we set them up for post-secondary success. So for me, that forward-thinking piece is always, are we doing enough? You know, are we making sure that that experience gives them that huge amount of, or that huge breadth of skills that they're going to need to have to be successful? Because, you know, we're probably going to talk a little bit about core curriculum tonight, I think, but, you know, as we have that, I mean, there's some things that aren't scripted to us that we know our students need to be able to have too, and that's more of those soft skills, and being able to be problem solvers and critical thinkers and be able to work in a team. And so sometimes I think that's where I guess I spend a lot of time thinking about how in our system are we making sure we address those things too, and whether it's at the school level or at the system level, I think those are constant questions for us. And you know, I think some of the activities I try to involve myself in are putting myself with other like-minded people in that area, whether it's through some chats on Twitter, or whether it's going to ed camps throughout the state or throughout the nation that try to talk about these issues. And so you learn from other people, because nobody has the magic bullet or the solution to what that looks like. But there's a lot of good grassroots efforts going on, and how do we build on those things to make it the best system it can be for our kids.
Amy, one of your target projects is the what we call early literacy implementation, or some people use the word intervention. Is that one of the main essential parts for your plan for the next, let us say, 5 years?
Yeah, I think the state has asked us to take a hard look at it. The legislation is pretty deep and wide, and there's a lot of pieces that are still being rolled out, but it's Iowa's chance to really ensure that we have this early warning system in place. And of course, in the end, we want our students to be proficient, and what that looks like is that all students can read by the end of 3rd grade. So that goal in and of itself is good. We know that there's hurdles that come with that, and we definitely need to think about what our system looks like to help ensure that. But there's a lot of pieces to what they're asking us to do that are really good and make sense when you think about a multi-tiered system of supports. It's just good practice. And so we would be doing those kinds of things and have been doing some of those things for years in education. It's the state making it a more standardized system for everybody.
Okay. And in this, I think there is some emphasis on the kids at risk.
Absolutely. So in this system, districts were to pick from a list of approved assessments. And these, what we call universal screeners, are done 3 times a year with our students, and they're very quick assessments. For our upper grade level kiddos, they're spending approximately 3 to 5 minutes with an assessment. For our younger kiddos, K1, they're spending more along the lines of 6 to 10 minutes on the assessment. But it's really meant to be a quick assessment to ascertain whether they look like they're going to be able to meet that end of year benchmark. And from there, once we recognize whether the students are proficient or not on those quick assessments, we put a series of extra support around the student. If they're non-proficient the first time, we're intervening and progress monitoring on a weekly basis to see if they're going to continue to grow. If not, we're going to be adding interventions above and beyond what we expect to see happening in the core curriculum. But along with that legislation too, we want to watch over time if we continue to see our students struggle and continue to be non-proficient. We are looking at them of having substantial difficulty, and with that we are then continuing to progress monitor them on a weekly basis, which is an even shorter assessment for them, as well as wrapping that intervention, having parent conversations, notification, partnering with the family, sharing what the school is doing, sharing what the families can do at home. So those pieces are all strong, healthy pieces that are just part of a good multi-tiered system of supports. I think when we look at some of the pieces of the legislation, some of the pieces are harder to swallow. The retention piece coming on board next year is one that we will continue to watch and monitor, and the state hasn't rolled out completely their guidance for that piece yet, so that's of course something that we will be watching carefully and closely because it's going to impact our students next year.
I'm going to ask you a hypothetical question now in light of the fact that No Child Left Behind is gone, or is history now, and is replaced by Every Student Succeeds,
Sure.
which is the current administration's baby. Now, there is no doubt that at a personal level, I think that had already treated a lot of the negativity of No Child Left Behind that I have seen as an educator
Sure.
In classroom. And it probably would allow more chances for local decision making rather than the mandate. Now, with the fact that core curriculum, or what we call Iowa core, is used to be a mandate, and I still, according to the governor, it is a mandate.
Sure.
Well, in the new law, which is Every Student Succeeds, this mandate is gone because they said, well, it's the district may or may not. So there is more choices here. So suppose, and this is the hypothetical part, we are done with this part. Do you think that literacy intervention strategy can still continue, or it will go with that?
Well, regardless of whether it's law
Yes.
or not, particularly at the elementary level, and in fact, sometimes they make the case, much to, it's not to people's dismay, but teaching reading is probably the most important thing that we do in K-12 education, teaching our students to read. It impacts everything that they do in their lives
Even
later.
in math.
Right, so no matter if it's part of Iowa Core or something that we're mandated to do, we're going to always work on, our first focus is always going to be on having literate children and working as fast as we can to help them become, shifting from learning to read to reading to learn. And so that's always going to be our focus, whether it's they're in state mandated or not.
Very good. Matt, now at the secondary level, at least our city here has the Kirkwood Regional Center that just opened this fall. And it's a very good project because it gives more horizons and more prospects for kids to learn, as well as easy credit that would save them a lot of money, especially if they get Kirkwood, which is community college credit plus university credit plus high school credit, and learn some vocational training too, and so forth. Can you give me some highlights about the regional center and how it's going to play a role in your strategy for the next few years?
Sure. I think when we really talk about secondary education, or when we talk about some of those points that we started with, I think the opportunity and the challenge for us is really that all of our students need something post-secondary, post our K-12 system to be successful. And I think this introduces them to a variety of different topics for a large number of students. I think some successes right away. We have over 160 students out at the regional center. It is the Kirkwood Regional Center at the University of Iowa, so like Connie was saying, it's a widespread partnership, and I think that's really been the benefit of everybody coming together and putting their heads together to figure out what can we do at a high level experience for our students. So we have 7 local districts. You have the University of Iowa. You have the Workplace Learning Connections. Grantwood Area Education Agency is housed out there as well, and have some offices. And then, of course, Kirkwood. And with all of that, I think you bring together all those resources and all those opportunities for students. I think it's been the feedback we're getting from our students, it's a very high level experience. It's something that they feel is challenging for them. It's also something that introduces them to that field before they go start spending a lot of their own money, as you alluded to. And the opportunity to get college credit. So we have some triple credit opportunities for students. We have a lot of dual credit opportunities in those academy offerings where students are able to do that. And I think it just provides them an experience that we would not be able to offer in our two comprehensive high schools and with our alternative high school at Tate. There's a lot of programs that wouldn't be viable for us to be able to continue to offer, but when you bring it in from 7 different districts of students, now we can offer those opportunities, and I think that's a blessing of the partnership, really.
How many of our students now, like approximately?
So we're roughly over 160 students. We probably started with 200 requests, and then either from schedule conflicts or students that may have chosen to drop the class after the first few days. But yeah, we feel good about that number. We feel like that number will certainly continue to grow. The regional center total is up closer to about 300 students total, so we make up over 50% of that population out at the regional center, and we're excited to see that number continue to grow for our students.
Are you providing any transportation or?
Yep. Yes, if students request transportation or if they would like to be transported to the regional center, we do that to all 3 of the high schools. We basically shuttle students all day because we have academies from 7:30 to 9, and then some concurrent courses that run after those. And then we also have the afternoon academy, which runs from 1:30 to 3. So we pretty much shuttle students back and forth for most of the day there. But yes, we didn't want that to be a factor in whether or not a student was able to participate. We didn't want to limit it to a transportation issue, so we felt that was important to make that commitment.
Do you have any role in the selection of the curriculum, in the selection of the staff that are serving there, or you don't?
Yeah, there a little bit 2 different issues, of course. As far as the curriculum goes, we have a schedulers meeting and we have a monthly regional partner meeting. And through that, we work on a program of studies, and that's a collaborative effort, again, with local districts, the University of Iowa and then Kirkwood, to say, what do we think what are the numbers telling us? What's viable to run? What do we think our students are interested in? What can we get instructors for? And then we try to put together a program of studies. And Director White just released the program of studies for this next fall and spring as far as what the regional center will be able to offer. And we feel good about those opportunities. And there's some that weren't able to go this time that we really hope are able to run next time based on student interest. They have to make some decisions about whether it's feasible to staff those classes or not. So, and then as far as the staffing goes, we hope to continue to explore opportunities where we can share staff. Right now we share 1 staff member with Iowa City District and then with Kirkwood that teaches out there for part of the day and then teaches back with us for part of the day, and that's in a shared situation. Primarily the other instructors are either hired by Kirkwood or the University of Iowa to teach those courses.
I want a few words from you, Matt, about the at-risk programs in the district, especially in the area of transition and track and the alternative school.
Sure.
And maybe if you can give me a little bit highlights. Both of us were part of the magnet school committee. Give our viewers an idea about the possibility of having a magnet school or not having it.
Sure. Well, I'll kind of go back to your first
Yes.
about our alternative programming,
Right.
and I think if you talk to our special ed director, Carmen Dixon, she talks a lot about a continuum of services for students, and
She was with us a couple of weeks ago. Yeah.
Okay, so you've probably heard some of that terminology, and I really see that as along the same lines with Trek and with Tate, our alternative high school, and that we have to have a continuum of services for students, because when I start that conversation and you ask me about being a forward thinker, we know a one-size-fits-all approach doesn't work for students, and sometimes a smaller environment or a more structured environment is what that student needs to be successful. So we want to try to look at, how do we meet those students' needs in a variety of different ways. Sometimes we're successful, sometimes we're not. But I think that's our continual challenge, is when we have 2 very large high schools of 1,700 and 2,000 students, how can we try to create a different environment that can help some students be successful? In terms of the magnet school piece, I can let Amy chime in on this one too, but I think the appealing thing about magnet is it goes right back to that point of how do we, provide a really high-level relevant experience for students that is maybe in a theme-based approach, something that really knocks it out of the park. And when you look at a theme and they can commit to that theme and really try to do that full bore, and you really commit to that and you really try to give your students a high-level experience in that area. So I don't know what Amy would like to add to that.
I would just remind our viewers that right now we have a survey out there for parents, families, community members to take.
Some people are very angry with the survey. Have you seen the Discuss Iowa School? It's a website for parents, and some people didn't understand the purpose very well.
Okay.
But I got some positive
Good.
feedback. But there were a couple of negative ones.
Sure. So when they were studying it and brought their report back initially to the board, one of the first things you need to do is spend some time educating the community and then seeing if there's community interest for magnet schools, and that's what the intent of both the brochure this fall and then the survey this month, December, purpose was.
We'll take your permission to give the last minute for Amy, right? Because
You
you
bet.
are an old comer here.
That's right.
That's home for you.
That's right.
And she's a real newcomer. So,
That's right.
Amy, 1 minute, talk to the community about what's in your mind for our education system here.
Sure. So it's definitely an exciting time to be in education in Iowa. We have seen a lot of reform come down the last few years, where we've talked tonight about the early literacy implementation. I also think about our teacher leadership and compensation grant that we received. Second year, in the second year for Iowa City. First year of implementation, though. We've got a lot of great positions in place that are strong, incredibly strong teacher leaders helping to support that work. We've got several teachers on full-time release, and we've got others in stipend positions that are helping to support that work back in the buildings on a day-to-day basis. So I think those two pieces coming out of the ed reform were excellent, and I look forward to continuing to help the district through those pieces in the upcoming years.
We are so honored to have both of you.
Thank you.
And we wish you all the best and more success. Maybe you will see one of you as Secretary of Education one day,
Wow.
if they keep this department.
Good job.
Well, thank you very much
Thank you,
indeed.
Hani.
And we are going to be, of course, on Channel 18. That's Public Access TV channel. If you have cable, if you don't have cable, please go to YouTube or Public Access TV website.
Sure.
We are going to be on your channel, that's channel 21, the education channel, at least once every week for maybe 3 months.
Okay.
So if people, our viewers, have any questions, we have the two main leaders now with Mr. Murley to receive your questions and to answer your concerns. Thank you, Amy. Thank you, Matt.
Thank you.
Ladies and gentlemen, have a very good night. Enjoy the good weather of mid-December in Iowa.
Thank you.
Thank you.